furious, I think people are furious now in relation to these vast sums of money, and people ask quite logically, why do we give these thieves, these corrupt gangsters, why are they getting my money? It's a very good question, and it is provoking, I would say, a furious reaction, which is, at bottom, it's a reaction against capitalism, against this system, which is based, let's call things by the right name. It's based on absolute theft and plunder of the people by a handful of rich gangsters. That's what it boils down to.
And we were just discussing before this program that they might be printing money,
yes,
to fund their projects, and as they have started these projects in USA to create jobs and all that. Will it work?
No, it will not work, but I mean, that's an interesting point you just made. First of all, I said earlier that the reaction of different governments, these are not left-wing governments, these are not Marxist governments, these are capitalist governments, right-wing governments, such as the government of George Bush, even in the United States, or the common market, the European Union. If you take all the measures, so-called bailouts of the banking system, over the last 18 months. Before Obama's new measures, these amounted to approximately $2.5 trillion. I don't know how much would that be in rupees.
A lot.
A lot. Yes, I suppose it would. Now Obama comes along and he's going to give another almost $1 trillion, mainly to the bankers. Now, the interesting thing is this. The stated intention of this is to get the economy moving, to persuade the bankers to lend money. The bankers are not lending money. They have not increased credit. They are not increasing credit, and they will not increase credit. Now, why is this? You see, there's a theoretical mistake here. The capitalist economists, the orthodox economists, imagine that the cause of crisis is credit, the absence of credit. This is false. Marx explained it's the other way around. It's not the absence of credit which causes a crisis. It's a crisis which causes the absence of credit. The reason why the bankers are not lending and will not lend is what I said earlier. Nobody knows how much these banks are worth. The bankers know that there's a recession or a depression, because the debate now between the bourgeois economists is not whether there will be a recession. There is a recession. The debate now is it a deep recession or is it a depression? I don't know what the difference is, do you? They don't know either. But there is a serious crisis. Therefore, because there is a depression, there are no markets, and profits are falling, the banks will not lend money. It doesn't matter how many billions are given to these gangsters, they will not lend money, not until this crisis is over. And therefore, the methods which are being adopted are false. Now, just one other point which you raised, which is very interesting. The interest rates now have been reduced in America to approximately zero. In Britain, they're almost zero. That is also intended to stimulate the economy. Has it succeeded? No, it has not. It hasn't made the slightest bit of difference. Therefore, once the interest rates are at zero, what other stimulus can they engage? They've donated huge amounts of money to the banks, to these gangsters. I'll be quite blunt about it. These are gangsters. These are thieves, corporate thieves on a massive scale. These thieves are receiving further billions. Now, I ask you a question. Where does the government get its money from?
Yeah.
And you know where it gets it from.
Yeah, the money is either coming from the taxpayers or maybe...
It comes from the taxpayers. That's the only place they can get the money from. But you see, there's a limit to how much they can get from the taxpayers. If you increase taxes too much, that will increase the crisis, clearly. And therefore, they are adopting a method which was originally put forward by an English economist called Keynes, of printing money.
Yeah.
Printing money. Now, this is madness. Let me put it concretely. If you or I were to print rupees in the cellar of our house, you could print a few trillion rupees, what would happen? If we were found out, what would happen? You'd be arrested.
Yes.
And you'd be put in jail,
yeah,
because
right.
They would say, this is just paper. This is not genuine money at all. This has got no backing. There's no gold behind it. There's no... In other words, it's fraud. But if the government does this, if the Bank of England prints paper without any backing in gold or in production or in any form of wealth, this is equally fraud. These are bits of paper without the slightest value. And therefore, all of history shows if they go down that road, and it seems that they're going down that road, that's another indication of desperation. All that it will result in, it won't solve the economic crisis, but it will cause a new bout of inflation. So they'll have the worst of both worlds. They'll have what they call stagflation, a combination of economic stagnation of the productive forces plus inflation. And that will cause enormous social discontent, as you hinted on in an earlier question.
And now a bit about Latin America. You have been going there, and President Hugo Chavez claims to be one of your students. So are you satisfied with your student? How is he doing? Is he faring well?
Well, I wouldn't say that Hugo Chavez is a student of mine. He's a good friend of mine, and a man that I believe has done a lot of good in challenging imperialism, standing up for imperialism. It's not a bad thing to stand up for imperialism, I might say, to the people of Pakistan, and to the government of Pakistan. Hugo Chavez has stood up to American imperialism. He stood up against the ruling class and the oligarchy. He's attempted to use the oil wealth of Venezuela in the benefit of the people. And I believe that all these things are very good and things which I recommend should be emulated in other parts of the world. Having said that, and I've said this to the President, I spoke to him even in July of last year. He was kind enough to invite me to a conference of non-aligned nations. I had a discussion with him at the time. I've said this many times. The Bolivarian revolution is a very good thing, but it's not yet finished. Now, what do I mean by this? I believe that the crisis of capitalism indicates that this is a bankrupt system. This is a system which doesn't guarantee either jobs or houses or food. I believe in the old days in Pakistan there was a very good old slogan in Urdu. My Urdu is not very good, but it was, what was it? Roti, kapra or makan.
Yeah.
Now, do the people of Pakistan today have roti, kapra or makan? I don't think so, not in many cases. And the only way in which we can guarantee the basic necessities of the people in Venezuela or in any country is by expropriating, not everything. We're not in favor of nationalizing everything. That is incorrect. But at least we should be prepared to take over if we are genuine socialists. I read the other day that the founding program of the PPP, it's a very good program, written I think in 67, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Something like that. Marvelous socialist program, which we should really be carrying this out. Nationalize the banks, the big industries and the land.
So we'll continue this discussion after a brief break. We'll be back after a brief break.